You wake up before the frost does. Your breath clouds the air in front of your face, slow, milky puffs that hang there a little too long before dissolving into nothing. The thatch above your head is rimmed with rime. Some of it falls when you move, most of it doesn't. It just waits. The wool blanket on your chest is damp from your own breath. It smells of lanolin, smoke, and something slightly fermented. You tell yourself it's cabbage. You hope it's cabbage. Outside, a rooster considers the value of dawn, then decides against it. You stay where you are. Now pull the blanket tighter, curl your knees, press your feet against the belly beside you. It doesn't matter whose, your brother, your mother. You've stopped distinguishing, because warmth is a democracy here. You share it or you suffer. The pig in the corner is already up, snorting at the frozen turnip skins in the trough. Its breath is a fog of familiarity. You listen to the wind push itself against the shutter. It creaks like an old prayer. The latch holds. For now. One curious theory says peasants in winter didn't truly sleep. They slipped in and out of half-dreams, waking every few hours to stoke a fire, turn a body, chase off frostbite. Another says they simply endured. You sit up slowly. The air bites your cheeks, then forgets to apologize. You wrap a strip of linen around your head. Wool is for the rich, and your only scarf went missing during the last fair. You suspect the neighbor. You also suspect the goat. The hearth is out, of course. The coals gave up sometime after midnight. You poke them with a stick anyway, because ritual matters. A spark winks at you, then dies. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Leave a comment with your location and what time it is where you are. I love seeing where you're all tuning in from. Now dim the lights. Take a breath. You begin the morning fire with fingers that no longer mind being cold. They've stopped complaining. Stiffness is their native language now. You add dung, straw, a breath you can barely afford, flame. It catches slowly, like hope. The smoke curls upward, thick and blue and oily. It clings to the roof beams. The house coughs before you do. You hear the others shift under the blankets. No one speaks yet. Words take energy, and energy must be saved for turning the frost off the butter churn, or chasing rats out of the grain bin. You sit close to the fire. The stone beneath you is damp and ancient. You smell ashes, sweat, the faintest whiff of something sweet. Last week's apple peel, maybe, or hallucination. You bite a piece of black bread. It tastes like yesterday, and the day before that, and possibly the floor. You chew anyway. You chew because chewing makes you feel like you're doing something. Outside, the sun peers over the horizon, like it's also not sure it wants to be here. You don't blame it? Now throw on your outer tunic. The rough wool scratches like bad manners. It smells like the barn, but so does everything. Your shoes, if you can call them that, are stiff with cold. You slip them on with a grimace and a grunt. The pig watches you, judging. You nod at it. It doesn't nod back. The door creaks open. A rush of air knifes across your face. You breathe it in. Frost, smoke, dung, fear. You exhale something warmer because you're going outside now, because the woodpile isn't going to carry itself, because the fire never stays, because winter doesn't care who you are. It only cares that you keep moving. So you do. And just as the door swings shut behind you with a sound like resignation, the wind begins again. Your boots crunch through the frost like old bones snapping. The snow isn't deep, just enough to cover the failures, enough to pretend there's still a road underneath. You can't feel your toes. You stopped missing them 3 winters ago. The sky is colorless. Not gray, not white, just forgotten, like a parchment left too close to the hearth and bleached of meaning. You carry a bucket. It's cracked. You patched it with twine and stubbornness. It leaks anyway. The path to the woodpile has become a negotiation between slippery stones and sheep droppings frozen in time. You make it halfway before slipping. Your hip hits the ground with a low thud. You don't curse. You're too cold for outrage. Instead, you laugh once through your nose. It makes steam. The wood is worse than you remember. Damp, heavy, sharp-edged with hoarfrost and guilt. You chip off enough for half a fire, maybe. Your breath curls around your head like a halo drawn by a child with a broken quill. Now listen. A dog howls in the distance. Not yours. Yours died in autumn, last seen chasing geese and destiny. A crow watches you from the top of a barn. It blinks once, judges your posture. She looks away. You drag the wood back toward the house. Every step reminds you of the weight of cold, not just temperature, history. Cold has a memory. It remembers the winter your brother lost 2 fingers. It remembers the stew that froze in the pot. It remembers the baby that didn't breathe come spring. You pass the well. It's frozen over. You kick the rim once because tradition. A small boy from the next hut stands nearby, gnawing a beet. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't need to. You nod. He nods. You both understand. One curious theory says children in medieval villages developed a special silence in winter, not from fear, but from conservation. Every spoken word cost warmth. Another theory says it was the only season. Adults didn't scold them for doing nothing. You return home with your bounty. 6 logs, 1 bruised knee, no sense of victory. Inside, the fire has sulked, but survived. The pig has taken your place. You nudge it, it refuses. You sit beside it. The warmth of a pig is not dignified. But it is consistent. The others are up now. Your father mumbles a prayer with his eyes still closed. Your sister wraps a shawl around her hands before touching anything. Your mother breaks the ice inside the water jug with the handle of a spoon. Someone sneezes. No one says bless you. You all know it would be a waste. The new wood spits angrily in the hearth. The smoke coils. The warmth creeps, grudging, suspicious, partial. You stare into the fire. It doesn't stare back, but it breathes. And for now, so do you. And just as you think maybe this will be a quiet morning, the door creaks again, and something colder than frost walks in. He brings the cold with him. Not in his cloak, not in his boots, in his voice. He doesn't speak right away, but the chill of unsaid things leaks off him like fog from a frozen pond. He's the Reeve, or used to be. Titles matter less in winter. His beard is stiff with frost. His gloves are missing a thumb. His nose is red from something between weather and guilt. He doesn't knock. No one does. He simply is. The way hunger is. You don't offer him a seat. There isn't one. Doesn't expect it. You wait. You breathe. Nothing moves. Then there's word from the manor. The room exhales. Not relief, just a change in pressure. Your father stirs from the corner. Not from interest, from obligation. Wood tithe is doubled, the reef says. Milord's wife fell ill, needs more for her fires. No one laughs. The pig snorts once. You swallow air, it tastes like soot and bad timing. The reeve shrugs. Not from indifference, from muscle memory. I'll be by tomorrow, collect what's owed. Then he leaves. No goodbye. Just the sound of the latch clicking behind him like a promise. You watch his figure retreat through the frost-glazed window. His footprints vanish behind him. Snow has a talent for pretending nothing happened. One curious theory says medieval peasants learn stillness not from reverence, but from self-defense. Another says the cold teaches you what not to say. You look to the hearth. The fire has dimmed, as if embarrassed. You poke it once. It sparks. It survives. Your mother doesn't speak. She starts slicing turnip into the stew pot. Your sister pulls her shawl tighter, even though the air hasn't changed. Your father leans forward, elbows on knees, and exhales a word you don't catch. The pig resumes chewing. You resume sitting, because there's no rebellion in January. There's just a... Now take the smallest log, the one with the worm trail across its side like a forgotten map. Add it to the fire, not because it will help, but because rituals still matter. Outside, the wind picks up. It whispers against the roof like a thief debating entry. The stew begins to bubble. You can't tell if it's from heat or desperation. Your knees ache. You shift. You breathe. You wait. Because that's what survival is here. Not action. Not defiance. Just breath and waiting for the cold to blink first. And just as you think it's safe to close your eyes, someone knocks. The knock is too polite, too light for the reeve, too slow for the wind, too deliberate for a neighbor. You glance toward the door. No one moves. Even the pig freezes. Ears up, mouth full of nothing. The knock comes again. 3 soft raps, like a priest testing a coffin lid. Your mother sets down the knife. Your father doesn't rise, just nods. You open the door. Outside, a figure wrapped in a blanket the color of surrender. A woman, older than memory, younger than regret. She doesn't speak. She simply nods once, at the pig, at the fire, at you. Then steps inside. You move without thinking, offering her the warmest spot. She does not take it. She squats near the hearth, palms open to the flame like she's trying to remember how to feel it. She smells of sheep tallow, pine smoke, and absence. Your sister offers her a spoon of broth. She sips once, whispers, still warm. You all nod, as if that's a good sign. She removes one glove, fingers like dry roots. She warms them without complaint. One curious theory says that during the hardest winters, strangers were judged not by their stories, but by their silence. Another says the truly desperate learnt to carry their warmth inside them, like hidden fire. The pig shifts and snuffles toward her. She does not flinch. She touches its ear like she's met it before. No one asks her name. She doesn't offer one. You suspect she's come from the hills, or from something worse. She finishes her soup slowly, reverently, like someone drinking from a holy relic. Then she speaks. Wind's changing. No one replies. Because she's right. The wind has changed. You can feel it behind the shutters. Less sharp, more insistent, like it's bringing something with it. Your father leans closer to the fire. He's not warming his hands. He's listening. You realize so is everyone else. The fire crackles. The broth bubbles. The air tenses. The woman sets her bowl down. There's a freeze coming, she says. Not like before. Deeper. You ask, how deep? She smiles, not kindly. Deeper than pigs. You understand, somehow. The fire dims again. As if bracing. You shift closer to the others. Not for comfort, for confirmation. You all heard it. You all believe her. The woman closes her eyes. Not in sleep, in memory. And just as you think she might explain, she says, "You'll need straw, more than you think." Then she opens her eyes again. Clear, pale, certain, and she says nothing else. You begin with the straw. It's not clean. It smells like goat fur, mildew, and every harvest that ever disappointed your village. But it's warm, or it will be, once your body forgets what clean ever meant. You haul it in by armfuls, not neatly, not efficiently, just fast. Your sister lines it along the walls. Your mother tucks it into the window seams. Your father, silent, wedges handfuls between the roof beams. The pig watches, confused but supportive. The old woman doesn't have. She just sits, hands in her lap, eyes closed, as if listening to something below the range of hearing, like ice forming in your bones. Outside, the sun gives up around midday. It slips behind a veil of slate-colored clouds and doesn't come back. Your breath grows visible indoor. It drifts near the ceiling, then slowly sinks. Even the fire crackles quieter. One curious theory says medieval villagers believed that sound could attract cold spirits, that laughter in January was an invitation, that silence was armor. Another says they just didn't have the energy. You don't talk much, only what's needed. There's a draft behind the trough. Add more under the bedding. Don't block the chimney. The air smells like burnt thatch and hope with blisters. Your knees are scratched raw from kneeling in hay. Your fingers have learned not to bleed when nicked. They just seal themselves with soot. The pig lies in the corner, buried halfway in a mound of straw like a saint entombed in golden relics. You envy it. Your brother, who hasn't spoken all day, finally says, "We'll need more water." You all freeze, because the well is a 10-minute walk in good weather. Tonight, it might as well be across a continent. The old woman opens her eyes. "Take the child," she says. No one argues, because some sentences arrive already decided. You and your brother wrap yourselves in every scrap of wool you can find. You carry the buckets together, hands chafed, lips cracked, breath shallow. Outside, the cold waits like an insult. It doesn't hit you, it climbs you. First your legs, then your ribs, then your thoughts. The snow has returned, but it doesn't fall. It floats. Slow, suspicious, measured, like it's watching you. The well looms ahead, a ring of stones rimmed with frost. The bucket rope curls like a snake trying to nap. You work quickly, draw the water, Hold your breath. Don't think about your fingers. The water sloshes once. Black, silent, ancient. You haul it up. You turn. And something is standing at the edge of the woods. Not close. Not threatening. Just there. A shape. Tall, still. Wrapped in furs or shadows. Watching. You blink. Gone. Your brother didn't see it. You don't say anything. You return home. The old woman is still by the fire. She doesn't ask. She knows. And just as you settle in again, buckets full, feet numb, heart uncertain, the shutters rattle, but not from wind, from something knocking. The knock is lower this time. Not softer, just deeper, like a sound carved into stone instead of struck upon wood. You freeze. Everyone does. Even the fire seems to pause, flames steadying themselves in midair, as if deciding whether to keep dancing or extinguish themselves in fear. Your brother looks at you. Your mother looks at the door. No one breathes. The old woman, she closes her eyes again and says nothing. You move toward the door. Each footstep lands like it's made of iron. The straw shifts under you with dry whispers. You press your ear to the wood. Nothing. You wait. Then another knock. Not demanding, not desperate, just patient. You open it. There is no one there. Just snow. Just silence. Just the wind standing perfectly still. You step outside. The cold greets you like a disappointed father. You scan the darkness. Nothing. But in the snow, 2 footprints. Not boot prints. Not hoofs. Bare feet, pressed deep into the powder, then gone. No trail. No path. Just arrival. And absence. You close the door. Your hands tremble. Not from cold, from uncertainty. Inside, your father finally speaks. Lock it. You nod. Slide the wooden bar into place. It feels like closing the lid on a question you don't want answered. The fire sputters once. It burns brighter. Your mother ladles broth for everyone, even those who won't eat it. Your sister places a clove of garlic above the lintel. Your brother curls under the blankets and stares at the ceiling, where breath gathers and disappears. The pig snores. The old woman does not move. You sip your broth. It tastes of time, fear, and boiled decision. One curious theory says villagers in the Middle Ages left offerings near the hearth, not for saints, but for things older than saints. Another claims those same villagers sometimes slept in shifts, not to keep warm, but to watch. Tonight, no one watches. Everyone pretends it's just another night, even though it isn't. You wrap your cloak tighter. Now lie down. Let your body surrender to the straw, the warmth of others, the illusion of safety. The cold presses its face to the shutters, but does not come in. Not yet. And just as your eyes begin to close, you hear it again. Not a knock this time. A whisper, right against the wall, saying nothing you can understand, but everything you need to fear. No one speaks of the whisper in the morning, because it wasn't morning. Not really. Just a paler shade of dark. The air inside the house hangs heavier than usual, like the night left something behind and no one's quite sure where it is. You sit up. The straw has imprinted itself into your skin. It itches like forgotten prayers. The hearth is still smoldering. Your sister is already awake, though she doesn't acknowledge it. She just stirs the ashes with a stick, carefully, methodically, as if the fire might tell her something if she's gentle enough. Your father paces, not urgently, 3 steps, turn, 3 steps back. The sound of his feet is soft but precise, like he's trying to remember a rhythm. The old woman hasn't moved. You wonder if she ever does. Your mother wraps salt into a cloth and ties it to the door handle. It's not a charm, not officially, but it's what her mother did, and her mother survived. Mostly, you look toward the window. There's frost on the inside. It grows in a strange shape, like branches or veins. One curious theory says people in the Middle Ages believed frost patterns could be read like omens, that the way ice formed on wood could tell you who wouldn't last the winter. Another theory says they just needed something to look at while waiting to die. You touch the glass. It hisses beneath your finger, then melts, then freezes again. Outside, the village is quieter than usual, which is saying something, because usual is already near silence. No carts, no dogs, no morning hammer from the blacksmith's corner shed. Just snow, still falling. Each flake descends like it's changing its mind. The pig snorts but doesn't rise. You envy its ignorance. Your brother begins packing straw into the cracks between the floorboards. Your sister murmurs something in Latin, or something she thinks is Latin. You don't correct her. Your father stops pacing, looks at you, then says, "We should burn the rosemary." It's not a suggestion. You nod. Fetch the bundle from the rafters. It's dry, old, forgotten until it wasn't. You light it at the hearth. It flares, then smokes, thick, blue-gras, sweet and sharp. The scent fills the room like a memory that never belonged to you. Your mother closes her eyes. Your father breathes deeply, as if this moment of scent is the warmest he'll be all day. The old woman, she finally speaks. Don't open the door tonight. No one asks why. You already know. Because whatever knocked yesterday might knock again. And this time, it might ask to be let in. And just as you glance toward the salt-tied handle, you realize it's already melted. You don't ask who burned the salt. You don't ask if it was fire or breath or something colder than both. You simply hang another bundle, this time dried nettles, not because nettles protect, but because they sting, and that feels like agency. Your mother sprinkles ashes across the threshold. Your sister rubs garlic on the windowsill. Your father unearths the iron nail buried under the hearthstone. It's bent, blackened, older than you. He doesn't explain what it's for. He just holds it, like it might remember how to save someone. The fire is stubborn today. The logs hiss like they've got secrets to tell, but only in languages no one here speaks anymore. You feed it anyway. You feed it like it's hungry for more than wood. Outside, the wind is whispering again, not around the house, but beneath it. You feel it in the soles of your feet. It vibrates, not like music, like warning. You chew a crust of bread that tastes like bark. Your mother slices cheese thin as paper. Your brother won't stop staring at the door. Someone should watch, he says. You volunteer before you know why. The chair is placed facing the door. Not close, just near enough that you'll see if it moves again. You wrap yourself in 3 layers of wool. A fire crackles to your right. The pig breathes to your left. Behind you, silence becomes a companion. One curious theory says some peasants tied bells to the latch so they'd hear if something opened the door from the inside. Another says those bells weren't meant to warn the living, but to remind the dead where they belonged. You doze with your eyes open. The candle guttering beside you throws shadows that stretch and twist like dancers too tired to finish the song. And there's someone in the corner, not standing, not sitting, just present. You can't see their face, only the outline, only the lack of space where they are. You breathe in sharply, look again. Gahan, you don't tell the others, because in this kind of night, speaking something out loud gives it form. Your sister hands you a mug of warm beer. You don't ask where the warmth came from. You just hold it. The old woman opens one eye. You saw it. Not a question. You nod. She closes her eye again. We all well. The wind rises. The pig squeals in its sleep. Or maybe it's not sleep anymore. And just as you take your next breath, the candle beside you dies. Without smoke, without sound, just absence. The darkness feels thicker now, not just darker, heavier, like something has layered itself on top of the night. You blink and your eyelids feel like velvet soaked in cold ink. The fire is still lit, but its light no longer reaches the corners. You are certain the room hasn't grown, but the shadows have. You stay in the chair. The beer has cooled. You hold it anyway. Your fingers need something to remember they exist. Your breath fogs and lingers. It doesn't rise. It curls downward, hugging the floor, as if afraid of the air above. The pig is quiet, too quiet. You lean forward. Its eyes are open, watching the same corner you saw the shape in. You whisper its name. It doesn't blink. You don't either. One curious theory says animals in medieval villages were trusted more than clergy during the darkest months, not for wisdom, but for instinct. Pigs see what you pretend not to. Another says pigs only stare like that before a storm. You rise, slowly, softly, step by step. You move toward the straw where the pig lies. It moved. You kneel beside it. The air near its snout is warm but faint, alive but just barely. You turn toward the window. The frost on the pane has changed shape again. This time it looks like a hand. 5 sharp tendrils of ice spreading outward. One small hole at the center. You touch the pane. The cold jumps through your fingertip and into your elbow like a jolt. You don't scream. You don't even gasp. You just step back. The old woman is sitting up now, not watching you, watching the door. It's not moving. It's not creaking. But something's pressing on it. Not physically. Not with weight. With intention. She speaks. Keep your mouth closed tonight. Still not a warning. Just a reminder. You sit back down. Your sister has braided garlic and placed it above the hearth. Your father has laid 3 iron spoons in a line near the threshold. No one told him to. No one asked why. Your mother places a candle in the center of the room. Then another. Then another. 6 in total, each lit. The flames sway, but not with wind, with breath. But the windows are shut. The air is still, and something in the rafters shifts. Not a rat, not a squirrel, something that knows not to scurry. Your brother covers his ears. No one tells him not to, because everyone hears it. The humming, tonal, almost a lullaby if lullabies were meant to keep you awake. You lean into the chair. Your back aches from stillness. Your eyes water from watching. The candles flicker once, and one by one they begin to go out. Not all at once, in sequence, like steps. And just as the last one dies, someone breathes behind your left ear. You don't turn around. You don't need to, because whatever breathed behind your ear isn't looking for attention. It's looking for acknowledgement, and that's the last thing you want to give it. Your hands rest flat on your lap. You stare forward, eyes fixed on the coldest place in the room, where the last candle died. The air behind you is warm, but not like fire, like presence, like someone leaning over your shoulder to read what you haven't written yet. The pig begins to whimper. Your sister hums louder, off-key and wordless, a noise she hasn't made since she was 6 and saw the dead thing in the well. The humming in the rafters joins her, not in unison, in mockery. Your father crosses himself, and crosses the spoons, then crosses the pig. Your mother opens the cupboard, not for food, but for the thing kept wrapped in cloth at the back. She brings it out carefully, like it might crumble from remembering. It's a candle, not wax, tallow and bone ash, wicked with hair. She lights it with a coal from the hearth. It burns with a color that isn't yellow, not quite orange, more memory-colored. The old woman watches it without blinking, then says, "Only once." Your mother nods. You don't ask what once means. One curious theory says these candles were never meant for light. They were for bargaining. Another says they weren't candles at all, just polite lies for things that wanted to burn. You rise again, because sitting makes you vulnerable, but standing makes you seen. So you crouch, halfway, like prey pretending to be a root. The floor is cold beneath your knees. It hums now too, not from sound, from expectation. You reach into your pocket, find the dried apple slice your sister tucked there before dusk. You hadn't noticed. You chew it slowly. It tastes like sun, like summer, like something you might never see again. The pig stops whimpering. The humming stills. The bone candle flickers twice and steadies. The breath behind your ear retracts, but not far, just enough to wait. You feel it, the entire house breathing. Floorboards, rafters, even the nails. Everything tense, listening, deciding. Your brother says your name, not loudly, just to remind you you exist. You answer by blinking. Nothing else. The old woman closes her eyes again and says, too softly to be heard, "It's not here for you," but that doesn't make you feel better, because you're not sure what it is here for. And just as your muscles begin to relax, the door latch lifts. You don't run to the door. No one does. Because if you move now, if you respond, you admit it's real. And tonight, reality is not your friend. The latch hangs mid-air, not raised, not dropped, just floating, held there by something unseen. Or maybe by nothing at all. The tallow and bone candle sputters once, then flares brighter. Its flame leans toward the door, like it's trying to warn you. For a bow, the old woman speaks without opening her eyes. Don't speak, don't blink, don't breathe too loudly. A pause, especially not if it says your name. Your name? You hadn't thought of it in hours. You're not sure it still belongs to you. The latch clicks down, gently. No push, no force, just permission. And then, slowly, the door begins to open. Only a crack, less than a finger thick, but wide enough for the cold to slip through. And this cold isn't natural. It doesn't sting. It searches. Your breath condenses in your throat. The room shifts, not physically, but intentionally. The shadows stop mimicking the firelight. They stretch on their own. Your father drops the iron spoons. They clatter once, twice, then fall silent, as if embarrassed. Your mother kneels near the hearth, not in prayer, in negotiation. She places a second candle on the floor beside the first. Unlit, waiting, the old woman opens one eye, looks toward you, and nods. A small, tired nod, the kind you give before sending someone into the snow to fetch something they'll never find. You rise. You don't remember deciding to. Your feet are bare. The floor bites. You walk to the door. No one stops you. That's not what anyone does anymore. The crack in the door widens as you approach. The air from outside is still, too still. It has the feel of an audience, a waiting crowd just beyond the veil. You don't open the door further. You don't speak. You just stand there, listening, and then you hear it, your name. Not shouted, not whispered, exhaled, like someone remembering you out loud. You close your eyes. You think of the pig, of the dried apple slice, of the warm beer, of the shadows that used to behave. You let your breath out slow, silent, and as you do, the door closes, all on its own. The latch settles, the shadows retreat, and behind you, the fire sighs in relief. The old woman smiles, the first time she has all night. That's one, she says, and closes her eyes again. And just as you take one step back from the door, you realize it remembers your name now. Sleep doesn't come. It waits, curled up just outside your reach, like a cat too wary to sit on your lap. You lie in your straw pallet, not resting, just horizontal. The fire has settled into a slow rhythm now. Each pop is like a heartbeat, trying not to panic. The others drift in and out. Your sister mutters in half-sleep, fragments of childhood rhymes and nonsense. Your mother's hand twitches in her shawl. Your father snores once, then stops, as if remembering he shouldn't. The pig breathes evenly. Its warmth is the most constant thing in the room. The old woman doesn't stir. She's become a piece of the furniture now, the stillest one. You stare at the ceiling. The rafters above are blackened from years of smoke and silence. There are carvings up there you never noticed before, not made by tools, by fingernails. Thin scratches, circular, intentional. You stop counting at 13. One curious theory says peasants made marks to keep track of nights survived. Another says the marks weren't for counting, they were for keeping something in. You turn to your side. The straw crackles like old paper. Dust rises and settles in your eyelashes. You blink slowly, and in that moment, you hear it again. Your name. But this time, it's not at the door. It's inside. Somewhere between the fire and the bed. Dry, like wind through parchment. You keep your eyes closed, because whatever says your name twice wants more than recognition. It wants permission. You slow your breath. You imagine warmth, the feel of wool, the scent of burned rosemary, the weight of your mother's hand on your forehead when you were ill and much smaller. The voice does not speak again, but the silence left in its place is worse. It feels like holding your breath under water while someone counts slowly on the shore. You open your eyes just a crack, and you see it. Not a figure, not a face, a fold in the air, like he'd shimmer, except this cold, like someone took reality and creased it. And from the crease, something is watching, not moving, just present, like the space between blinks, like a thought you didn't mean to think. The bone candle flares again, and the fold disappears. No smoke, no wind. You're gone. You sit up. The old woman is watching you now. Her eyes open, mouth closed. She nods, just once, and then lies back down. You don't know what the nod means. Approval? Survival? Resignation? You lie back too, this time slower. Let the straw hold you. Let the cold settle around you like a blanket, made of fear and discipline. And just as your heartbeat slows, just as your thoughts begin to fray at the edges, a voice speaks. Clear, calm, familiar. It says, you invited it in. You didn't invite anything. You're sure of that, aren't you? The voice that said it wasn't yours, but it wasn't foreign either. It sounded like someone you used to know. Someone who used to tuck in your feet before sleep. Someone who died before you were old enough to ask how. The room is still. Too still. The others breathe, except the old woman. Her chest does not rise, but her eyes remain open. Watching something you can't see, you sit up again, not fast, not afraid, just tired of pretending sleep was coming. The air smells like burned rosemary and melted wax. Underneath it, straw rot, and something faintly metallic. You taste copper. You taste memory. The fire isn't dying, but it's no longer willing. Each flame dances alone now, as if unaware there are others beside it. You glance toward the door. It's closed, but something is in. One curious theory says there were nights in medieval winters where families all dreamt the same dream, and those dreams carried warnings from under the earth. Another theory claims those weren't dreams. You rise again. You don't know why. Your legs are cold. Your breath is heavier than it should be. You step past your sister. Her eyes are twitching beneath the lids. She murmurs a word. You think it might be Moro. Your father is curled in a shape that suggests guilt. His hands grip nothing, but he's not letting go. You walk to the corner, the one that's always cold. Even when the fire roars, even when the sun used to visit, there's a crack in the wall. You've seen it before, but tonight it's wider, as if the wall has decided to open its mouth. You kneel, not close, just near enough. The crack smells like earth, but not the friendly kind. The kind that's been waiting. You place your hand beside it. You do not reach in, but something reaches out. Not a hand, not a voice, just a knowing. Like someone tracing your thoughts before you think them. You remember the whisper, the knock, the breath behind your ear, the way the latch lifted itself without urgency, and you realize this night has not been about survival. It's been about attention. Something wants to be known, and the more you pretend it isn't here, the closer it moves. You whisper, "I didn't invite you." The crack sighs, as if disappointed. The old woman speaks behind you, not loudly, just enough. It's not about invitation anymore. You turn. She's standing now, barefoot, eyes clearer than they have any right to be. She holds something in her hand, a bell, small, iron, dull. She doesn't ring it. She simply holds it. You nod, and just as you begin to speak, she does. Tomorrow, if we're lucky, we'll forget. And just as she steps toward the door, you notice the firelight doesn't cast her shadow anymore. No one asks where she's going. Not your father, not your mother, not even the pig, who finally, quietly, begins to tremble. She holds the bell like a relic, but doesn't ring it. She walks to the door, the same door that breathed, that whispered, that lifted its own latch like it had been waiting centuries to be opened by silence. She pauses. The fire sputters. One of the coals falls with a soft hiss, then splits, glowing like a cracked tooth in the hearth. You stand, but your feet stay in place. You want to call out, but something in your ribs whispers, if you speak, you become part of it. So you don't. She reaches the door, lays her palm against it. It doesn't open, but it accepts her, and slowly, without pressure, it swings wide. Beyond it, not snow, not sky, just dark. A darkness that feels deep, not empty. You don't see shapes. You feel them. A movement in the air like someone adjusting their weight just out of sight. She raises the bell, not to ring it, to show it, to remind whatever is watching, we still remember how to ward things off, even if we don't believe anymore. The bell doesn't sound, but the dark steps back. Not far, just enough. She turns. Her face is calm, not peaceful, just unafraid, like someone who has made the exact right choice and knows it might still cost everything. She speaks again. Keep the fire low tonight. Let it flicker. That's how they know we're still listening. Then she leaves. The door remains open. You do not close it, because closing it would be a lie. You sit again. The pig curls into itself like a question. Your sister breathes in and doesn't breathe out for a long time. Your mother crosses the hearth with chalk. No symbols, just a line. Not for protection, just a boundary. You stare into the fire. It no longer warms, but it speaks. Not in sound, in suggestion. You remember the old stories of the third night, the coldest one. One curious theory says these nights weren't measured in temperature, but in memory. The colder the air, the more the village remembered what they were supposed to forget. You rise, walk to the doorway. Don't step out. Just stand in the space between. The air outside. It's observation. It presses softly against your face like a finger to your lips. You nod to the dark, not as thanks, not as surrender, just to say, I see you too. And just as you turn to go back inside, something very small brushes your hand. It feels like a thread, or a promise, or a beginning. You don't remember falling asleep, but you must have, because you wake up with frost in your eyebrows and straw marks pressed into your cheek like ancient runes. The fire has gone out, completely, yet your breath hangs in the air like it's still part of a prayer. The room is quiet, not silent, just the kind of quiet that only comes after something has ended or been paused. The pig snores, soft, rhythmic, a sound you'll remember long after everything else fades. Your sister is curled beside the hearth, one hand gripping a clove of garlic. Your father sits upright, awake, holding a wooden spoon as if it's still a weapon. Your mother hums a tune you've never heard but know instantly. And the old woman, she isn't there. No one says it. What you all notice? There's no panic, no grief, just a quiet, communal acceptance, as if part of the house chose to walk away. You step to the door. It's shut now, latched, not by you. Outside, the light is thin and gray and forgiving. Not sunlight, but close enough. The snow is piled high against the fence. The trees bend slightly under its weight, like monks in frozen prayer. You breathe in. The air smells like wood smoke that isn't there, and rosemary that has already burned. You hear a bird, just one. Its call is sharp and stupid and perfect. One curious theory says the first bird heard after the third night was an omen, a sign you'd made it, or a sign something else had. You close the door, gently. Inside, the coals in the hearth have not fully died. You kneel. You blow softly. 1, 2, 3 breaths. And then a flicker. Time. Orange. Hopeful. Your sister stirs. Your mother looks at the spark and nods. Your father speaks for the first time. Everyone laughs. Not loudly. Just enough to prove you're still human. You pass the tin cup. Pour boiled water over leaves dried so long ago they barely count as flavor. It tastes like warmth pretending to be something more. The day begins. No one mentions the night. No one speaks the name that whispered itself twice. But you know it's still out there, waiting, not in malice, just in memory. You feed the fire, wrap your shawl tighter, and as the frost on the inside of the window begins to melt, you notice a shape, not a hand, just a curve, a fold in the ice, like someone smiling behind the glass. You do not wipe it away. Instead, you sit, sip your tea, and breathe, because sometimes surviving the coldest night isn't about fighting it. It's about listening and knowing that even the darkness was never alone.